Well, hi, everyone. This is the next episode of the Everyday Fan Podcast, and I'm your host, Gary Sparrow. I'm here, of course, like I said before, I'm just wanting to talk to everyday fans, just people that enjoy sports, people that are passionate about sports, and just love having those conversations and those stories with people. And I'm happy today to be joined by a friend of mine from the from the past. I hadn't seen him in a while, but we worked together at some newspapers back in Georgia. And Mr. Doug Gorman, how you doing today, Doug?
I'm doing great. So happy to be here. I was so excited when I found out about your podcast, first of all. So I'm like, man, this is cool. So, and then when you asked me to be on, I'm like, yeah, I'll do that.
Well, great. Well, great. Yeah, great to have you on. And
Thank you.
um, I always loved when I worked at the paper. I always, read your articles, and I know you covered a lot of stuff around Henry and Clayton counties, and I know you worked some other counties around there since then. So we'll get into that a little bit in a minute. But one of the things I always like to start out with is, just people that are fans of sports. Kind of where do those influences come from? What influenced you? How did you become a fan of sports in general and any specific teams that you're really passionate about?
Well, you can actually blame my dad for me being a sports fan. I think you probably have some of the same stories with your dad.
Happens
I've
a
read some
lot,
of your
yeah.
stuff, but for me, it was in St. Louis. My dad was a executive with GE, so as he climbed the corporate ladder, we moved a lot. Philadelphia, actually Louisville, Kentucky is where became a huge college sports fan, and then we moved to Atlanta. But really, it goes back to my days in St. Louis, where I was just St. Louis Cardinal fan. I tell this story. I've even posted it on Facebook. I had a little red transistor radio that was tuned to KMOX sitting on my nightstand, and I would go to sleep listening to if it was baseball in the summer and, hockey in the winter with Dan Kelly, a great hockey announcer who passed away in his early 50s, so way too soon, but listen to Jack Buck, Mike Shannon. I told a story the other day about listening to I was driving around, there was still spring training, so, I was listening to an exhibition game, I'm like, "I really miss listening to radio broadcast of Braves games and baseball in general." Went to spring training one year in St. Louis, I was probably 5 or 6, 7 years old, to see the Cardinals, and met Jack Buck and Mike Shannon, the 2, legendary Cardinal
Wow.
announcers, and I was like, "This is cool as meeting with the players, I'm meeting a player," you know? Got their autograph. They were so sweet to me, and it's just like but I've been a fan 50 years, 60 years, 50 years, so
So you still a Cardinals fan?
I'm a Braves fan, really. I still have a passion
Good.
for the well, yeah. Well, you got the hat on, I better say that, right? It's your hey, Gary, it's your show, but but, wherever I was living at the time is who I became a huge Phillies fan. I swore when we moved from St. Louis to Philadelphia, "Oh, I'll never change." But the Cardinal I mean, the, Phillies, Mike Schmidt and Greg Luzinski, Steve Carlton, I think when you're a kid especially, you follow the teams where you're living if they're, if you in a major league city.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
absolutely. I mean, that's kinda we moved around a lot with my dad's job, and, I was born in Texas, so that's kinda where if you've heard, I'm a Cowboys fan and
You're
that
a
goes
Cowboys
way
fan, I
back,
knew that, yeah.
and yeah, just always have been. But we actually moved to Kansas after we lived in Texas for a while when I was probably 10, 11, 12 years old.
Okay.
Went to Royal Stadium the first year it opened, the one they're about to move out of, had the
Right.
fountains in the outfield. That was something new back then.
That was that
But
that
yeah,
stadium was state of the art back in the day.
it was, and I became a Royals fan,
Royals fan, yeah.
um, back then when we lived there. I remember Cookie Rojas and Fred Patek were the
Oh, yeah.
shortstop, second base combination. That was kinda a couple of their best players, but yeah, I know what you mean. You're there and you kinda become a fan of that team, and of course, then we moved. My parents were from Atlanta, so I always was kind of a Braves fan anyway, and then when we moved here, it was kinda right when Hank Aaron was chasing the home run record. Actually, we were still in Kansas when he broke the record. Then
Right.
we moved to Atlanta, and I was a Braves fan. And then, of course, Ted Turner, put all the games on TV, and it
Put all
was
the
like,
games on TV, exactly,
yeah, you got to watch them
exactly.
all. That was because I did listen to the radio too, and, that was that was something that I enjoyed also. Just and
Right,
it's different listening to the play-by-play on the radio where they've gotta be so descriptive of what's
right,
happening and
right.
everything. So, that's always really interesting as well. So when you moved to Atlanta, I know you said you were a Braves fan. You also became a Georgia Tech fan, right?
I'm a huge well, yeah, that goes back that's generational for me, to be honest with you, Gary.
Okay.
My parent None of my family went to Tech. My dad graduated from Emory. My grandfather graduated from Elon. I graduated from Elon. But, I tell people all the time, "Why are you a Tech fan? Tech's no good." Well, I don't Tech's been down, but Tech does have a history. But my family has
They
a
do.
history with Georgia. My grandfather back in the 40s and 50s worked professionally for the Boy Scouts of America, and he approached Bobby Dodd one time. They went to the same church. I think they were in the same Rotary Club for a service project, and he said, "I would love it if the Boy Scouts could start ushering." And they did that for about 40 years. I don't think they do that at Bobby Dodd anymore, but they would usher on game days. So, and Tech was really good.
Oh, wow.
The history. Tech was really good back in the
Oh, yeah.
40s. And my dad, since he went to Emory, you know, they didn't have sports, so he chose a team, and so obviously he chose Tech because Tech was really good back then. They lived in Midtown, so my dad told getting out of school and riding his bike over to Rose Bowl, the practice field, and then, they had open practices back then. It was totally
Right.
different. So he would watch them practice. So
Oh,
he
yeah.
jumped in, like, and then
Cool.
You know, once we moved to Atlanta, he and my mom had season tickets for years for both Tech football and basketball. But, my dad
Oh,
tells his
nice.
favorite sports he had just gotten out of the Navy, and he and a bunch of buddies went up to South Bend and watched Tech beat, Notre Dame, and this was like in '53 probably, and then then on Sunday, went over and watched the Bears in Chicago. So that was his favorite sports story.
Oh,
So,
wow.
you kinda know why
I
you kinda
bet,
know
I
why I'm a
bet.
sports fan, right? So, but yeah.
Exactly, exactly, and I think a lot of times that's what it goes back to is family. Yeah, because I come from, my dad went to Georgia, he played baseball at Georgia, my sister
Okay.
went to Georgia. My son's a Georgia fan, so why am I a Georgia Tech fan? Well, I went there for one thing back in the early '80s, and I kinda switched
Okay.
allegiances then, and I've just always been a Tech fan since then. I remember,
Right.
um working at the paper, I think me and you were the only ones in the building that were Tech fans,
Well, one of them wasn't a Tech
but,
fans, exactly. And it's
ex
hard to be a Tech fan,
but
Gary, you know that,
it is.
you know?
It's
But,
it is, a lot
I
of
get
times.
mad because there is tradition there, and I know the tradition because it's been passed on to me. The '70s was not
Right.
good in football, the '80s was not good in football. The '80s was great in basketball for Georgia Tech, so
Exactly. Bobby Crimmins came in and turned them
oh
around.
my god, hottest ticket in town, yeah, so but yeah,
Absolutely.
so, you know, but I and, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in the future. You know this with those college sports now. It's gonna be who has the most lucrative NIL deals are gonna be the best teams, in my opinion.
That's the thing. I was gonna get into that with you, what you thought about that in the transfer portal. I mean,
And transfer
it's
portal too, there
I was glad they had it because. Yeah, I mean, Tech got Haynes King because of the transfer portal, so that was a good thing, but
the
I think it's
transfer
kinda
portal,
got out of
exactly.
hand. I don't know what you think, but it's
It
just
has.
like all college athletes are basically free agents, you know?
They're free agents,
Um,
and
I think
and you
somehow they
can't
gotta reel it in. Yeah,
they gotta reel it in, and for sure, you gotta put a limit on how many times kids can transfer. These kids are getting 7 and 8 years eligibility. It's just ridiculous, you know? So,
yeah, it really is, and it's crazy, but, I mean, I know it kinda levels the playing field. I think that's why a team like Indiana can,
Indiana,
come up in a
yeah.
couple years and win the national championship the way they did. So I kinda like that, but, then again, it can get out of hand, and I think it's kinda going that direction.
It's kinda definitely going that direction, and, you know, I wanna see these kids 5 and 10 years from now who maybe didn't make it to the NFL and didn't get the big, huge payday, if they've taken care of the money that they're making through NIL, 'cause I hope there's some sort of, money
Right,
management skills that are being taught these kids, 'cause, that money won't last forever if you don't take care of it, you know? So,
exactly. Oh, I mean, there's, professional athletes that have gone through that too, made a lot of money and
exactly.
lost it all.
Yep, yep.
So
So
it is. It can get crazy. But so you've covered high school sports for how many years?
I started in the newspaper business in 1988. It was the year I got out of college. Went to Elon University, Elon College back then. It's Elon University now. In
Right.
1988, my very first job was at the. I don't know if you remember 'em, but they had these little community they were like the neighbor papers. They were owned by Marietta. Stayed there like
Oh, yeah,
6
absolutely.
stayed there like 6 weeks, to be honest with you. I hated it, and there was just a lot of reasons why. It was more that you really couldn't do journalism there 'cause they gave you a everybody had the same, you basically just filled you didn't even cover games, you just basically and I'm not trying to badmouth it, but you basically just, you know, you cover, you know, pick up the phone and got to and I wanted to do journalism. So I went to the Covington News,
Right.
and then I went to Carrollton, and that was my first daily newspaper, and then actually went into radio for a little while, and
Oh,
I had
really?
to do a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked at a radio station in Carrollton, and it was a combo sales job, on-air job because a small community newspaper, everybody had to do a little bit of everything. Gary, I was a
Right.
terrible advertising salesperson. Terrible, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So, I went back into the newspapers within about a year and went to Tifton, and then I came to Clayton and Henry, and then the Noonan, and like to say, the rest is history. But seen a lot, in terms of
I'm sure, I'm sure.
and I and the most satisfactory thing now is when you run into these kids you covered 20, 30 years ago, and they're doing great in their lives, and, they've got kids, and now you're starting to cover their kids, and, you know, so, you know, I covered a
So
Jonesboro.
let me ask you, this is
Yeah.
no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I covered a like I say, I'm still freelancing, so I covered a Jonesboro playoff game the other night, basketball, and one of the guys there, I had covered his 2 kids, at Morrow. It was the Goss family. Lauren and Trey Goss were great high school basketball players. Their dad was always so good to me. Now his grandson is playing at Jonesboro, so now you wanna talk about feeling old. So, yeah,
That's
but
true. So let me ask you, over all the years that you've covered sports, I know there's been a lot of athletes that have eventually gone on to play professional sports that have come out of these areas. Who's the best high school athlete you ever saw or you ever covered?
can I name 2? 'Cause they're
Sure.
brothers. They're brothers.
Okay.
Harry and Tony Douglas at Jonesboro.
Okay.
Harry, when Harry was a great basketball player. His senior year, he had breakout in football. So he ended up going to Louisville on a football scholarship, played in for the
Right.
Falcons, played for I think it was the Titans. He's now on ESPN. As in fact, I saw him this weekend on that spring league football. He's doing some
Right.
commentary in their games. Tony and I can't even remember all the teams Tony played for. Tony played basketball at Auburn, then he transferred to FSU, and he's been in the NBA. And I think he might even still be playing in Europe. If he's
Mhm.
not, he just finished up playing in Europe. Those are probably
Really?
the 2 best athletes I've seen. But there were the Luke and Matt Merton, baseball players at Eagles Landing, were great. Luke had a they both went to Georgia Tech, which was good, great by me.
Right.
I love that. I love that. But Luke played a little bit in the minor leagues. Matt went on and had an outstanding career in Japan, of all
Really?
places.
Okay.
Yeah. He was like he led the league in hitting like 4 years in a row. Played a little bit in the majors. I think he played for the Cubs for a little while, but the bulk of his career was in Japan, and just really outstanding family too. So, yeah. So I
That's a
probably I
good thing
probably went
too.
around your question a little more than what you were looking for, but,
No, 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 that's good, that's good. Because I made me think of that question was just I know you had mentioned or you posted the other day about Jason Hayward retiring,
oh, Jay well, yeah,
and,
see, I forget there have been so many. Jason Hayward. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I remember and it's funny because when he first got to the Braves, I actually saw him and Freddie Freeman play here in Myrtle Beach for the
Oh,
Myrtle Beach
did you?
Pelicans. when they
Yeah.
were a farm team. They were a single A farm team for the
Right,
Braves,
right.
and back when they were here and we were on vacation here, we always go to the Pelicans games when we're on
Oh,
vacation,
yeah.
and so when they were here, it was like Jason Hayward was kind of the star, and, yeah,
Right.
Freddie Freeman's pretty good too.
Yeah,
And
just a
then
little bit. Yeah,
kinda switched around a little
yeah.
bit.
Yeah, I
But,
think Freddie's gonna make it, don't you? I think
oh,
Freddie's
yeah,
gonna
I do too.
I think Freddie's gonna be okay.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. He
Well, I
may
have
be
a
the
good
last he may be the last 3,000 hit guy, I don't know, he's
might
gonna get
be.
pretty
I mean,
close.
I hate to see him leave, but I love Matt Olson now, so,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that
yeah.
was
And a
it worked out.
hometown kid too, I love those hometown kids that stay in come to Atlanta. But I got a pretty good Jason Hayward story though. You know,
Okay,
I
let's hear
first
it.
and I put this on my Facebook site when he announced his retirement. He was playing in, like, a youth league deal when he was, like, 10 years old, and the tallest kid I've ever seen. I said, "That kid can't be 10 years old." But boy, what a great player. I'm like, "This kid's gonna be really, really good." Well, I'd forgot about him, and then I'd catch up with him in Henry County. I had a great career at Henry County High School, and all, but
Right,
the day he got drafted, I was of course, sports editor at the Henry paper, and I'm like, "We gotta do something on this," and, because we knew he was gonna get drafted real high, So, you know,
right.
I actually got in touch with his dad, and I said, "We don't wanna intrude, we don't wanna interfere, we don't wanna do this, but can we be there when he gets drafted and just get, like, a quick." So we literally our photographer went over there. They were so nice they were so nice. We literally got him on the telephone when he was getting drafted, and I guess he was talking to John Sherholtz. So we actually had that
Right.
picture, and, we got a good interview. I didn't go because my sports editor is I had to stay in the office a lot, so I sent another reporter, but got a great story, but they were so nice to us. I mean, it was just really, turned out to be a good deal, so
That's great. I think I posted on yours that I have a niece that went to elementary
you
school
did?
with him.
What, homeroom, was it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it was I mean, they were, like, really good friends, from what
cool,
she
yeah,
said, in
yeah.
elementary school, and, yeah, that was really cool. And, yeah, I didn't of course, she didn't know back then he was gonna end up, in the,
Yeah,
major leagues, but,
major leagues, but
seems like a really down to earth kinda guy,
he really
I
does.
I hate too that his brother played a little bit. I know he's in the minor leagues, but I don't know that,
I heard his brother now, somebody can correct us if we're I heard that he was, like, in a scout or doing something in with one of the major league franchises. I don't know which one.
could be now. I know
Yeah,
I know he went
yeah.
to well, he went to did he go to Georgia Tech? Where'd he go to
I don't
college?
think he did. I think he went
Or
to
did he
I
go
think he went to
straight out of high
Miami. He
school?
went to
Okay.
Miami. He went to University of Miami, I
Okay,
think.
that's right. I think you're
But
right. I think
he
you're right.
played at I believe he
Um,
played at Eagles Landing Christian because they had really good baseball back then too.
Christian Academy, right.
Yeah, and
Yeah, they did. They really did.
he hit the longest home run as they say, the ball's still going, he hit that ball so far. I mean, it was just I've never seen a high school kid hit a ball so far, but yeah, but yeah, but just a nice family. His dad was a little intense during the games, but, he was just, you know, good family, so, one of my many great
That's good.
memories, I guess, you know?
So were you still in Henry when Michael Harris was playing at
I was
Stockbridge?
not.
Did you cover him at all?
I had gone to
Okay.
I was working in the Noonan paper at the time, and,
Okay.
but everybody was talking about I mean, of course, I knew about him because everybody was talking about him, and I was like I
Sure.
never got to really see him play, you know, so,
Okay.
but, yeah.
Alright.
He's a second great player that's come out of that high school. Kyle Davies, a lot of people forget about, was a great pitcher that out of
That's
out of out
that's
of Stock
true.
out of Stockbridge, and if you would this was back, of course, when everybody had voice, you know, I can't remember, I'm drawing a blank, but I can't remember the head coach's name, but he would actually have if you called his voicemail, he would actually have on his voicemail, "Kyle Davies is set to throw on Wednesday," because I guess so many scouts were calling to want to know when he was gonna throw again, so he just, "Well, I'm just gonna put this on my, put this on my voicemail." So, but he had a couple
Well, yeah,
calls.
and he started out he had a big year for the Braves.
He
His
did,
rookie year was
he
probably one of
did.
his better years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was really good. And did he go seems like he went to Kansas City. He got
I think he went to
traded
Kansas
or
City. I
ended up
think
in
he
Kansas
did.
City? Yeah.
Yeah, and his brother turned out to be a good player. He did didn't get make it to
Really?
the pro
Okay.
majors, but his brother played at Tech, so, and it was like the MVP of the ACC tournament one year. So, you know, he was more of a
Okay.
he was more of a position player where Kyle was the pitcher.
I got you. I got you. Yeah, and Tech, looks like they're gonna have a really good baseball team this year.
Yeah, they're playing Auburn tonight apparently. Yeah, it's actually on ESPN2, which is nice because it gives you some it gives both programs a little pub, on national level, but
Right,
yeah,
absolutely.
they're ranked 3rd, so who knows?
I'm fortunate yeah, I'm fortunate here in Myrtle Beach. We're right next door to Conway, which is where Coastal Carolina is, so
Oh, yeah,
get to go
yeah.
to some of their games, and of course, they won the national championship of, what, 5 or 6 years ago, which
Yeah, they
was
did.
a
Yeah,
shocker, but, they
yeah,
got a really good baseball team as well.
yeah, th they got
I know
I
they're
hear they
still
got
ranked in the top 20, but,
yeah, I hear they got nice athletic facilities over there. Their football, it's nice, nice campus, I guess, so, yeah.
yeah, it really is. It's a really great campus, and the yeah, baseball and football stadiums are really great
Right,
as
yeah.
far as for a smaller, smaller
Smaller
school,
venue,
but,
yeah, exactly,
yeah,
yeah.
it's really a nice area. Yeah, if you ever get a chance, come by and visit.
Yeah, but okay, yeah.
But so you're still just doing some freelance work as far as
I'm doing
writing
freelancing. I
or
work pretty much every Friday covering during the football season, of course, and I cover
right,
a lot of playoff basketball. We don't cover again, Gary,
okay.
it's changed so much. It's 2 days a week now. So, I guess
It has.
their thinking is there's no reason to go out and cover a, you know, a Wednesday baseball game or a Wednesday soccer game when it's not gonna be in the paper? I mean, you can put it online, but so that's kind of
Right.
their budgets are limited, let's face it, so
Y Yeah, and it's kinda gone that direction ever I mean, basically, when I left, the Herald was daily when I started there, and I think they were 3 days a week when I left, and, yeah, it just started that trend,
Right.
and I may have helped it because I started their Facebook page when I was there. Ag a
Shame on
against
you.
anybody's better judgment,
Well,
I was kinda told not to, and it was kinda funny 'cause the newsroom kind of when back then, they didn't have business pages, so it was still
right,
like a
right,
personal page. So you had likes and, instead of follows or whatever. So when we
sure,
ended up with more likes than we had subscriptions, they took notice and went, "Okay, we're taking this over." I
yeah,
said, "Oh, okay."
uh,
But yeah, it kind of ever since then, everything's kinda trended to the online,
for the
you know,
online.
and and a lot of major newspapers are just, going completely online,
Atlanta does not
and,
have a print edition
I hate
anymore.
it.
AJC does not have a print edition.
Yeah, I know.
It's just crazy. I mean,
And
it's
that's the
just
thing, growing up, you were probably like me, you're looking for the box scores.
oh,
How'd every who did what
I
last night.
I tell this
Just
story
love
all
doing that.
yeah, I tell this story all the time to people. My mom could not start her day without the newspaper and a cup of coffee, and she just that was and there were so many people of her generation that were like that. And you remember,
Absolutely.
you lived in Atlanta long enough. You remember how thick the AJC Sunday edition was. I mean, it was heavy.
Oh. Oh, yeah, yeah,
It was heavy, and
it was.
the sports section was phenomenal.
Well, and they had 2, you had the Constitution and the
Well, had a
Journal,
that's
the
true.
morning paper
Yeah,
and the afternoon paper.
absolutely.
So yeah, you got all the late scores in the Journal, so,
Right,
yeah, it was
right.
those were the days, those were
Oh,
the
yeah,
days, but,
yeah.
yeah, I miss some of that. So as far as, I told some stories about me and my dad, some trips we got to make. What was the what was the best trip you got sports-related trip you got to do with your dad?
We went there was a bunch of 'em. Yeah, I will always treasure the spring training trips because we always went to Clearwater and in St. Louis, trained in St. Pete, which was just like, you know, quick drive. So going over there,
Right.
uh, I went to I went this is when I was older, actually. I went to Clemson 3 times when Tech played over there. Tech actually won twice.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah, and the 3rd time, Clemson kind of boat race Tech, and actually, I guess you'd say they just double teamed him. Calvin Johnson did not have, it was his senior year, I think, didn't have not have one catch against Clemson that game. So, they shut him
Oh,
down.
wow.
So they shut him down. And if you shut Calvin Johnson down, you were going to win probably because very few teams did. But
Yeah, exactly.
that then we went to the Citrus Bowl one year. That was a fun trip.
Oh, okay.
So Tech lost, but it was still a fun trip.
Nice.
But yeah, it just and just the just the local stuff that we went to, lots of baseball games. I bet it sounds crazy to say, but we probably over a 30-year period, because we were still doing it when I was an adult, over 100 games probably, just over the years, just all the different cities.
Okay,
My very
that's
first
great.
sports event he ever took me to, I was 5 years old, we had just moved to St. Louis, was a St. Louis Blues, Boston Bruins playoff hockey game. Now at 5, you had no idea,
Oh,
you
wow.
that it was a playoff game or what was at stake, and but that's how I became a real big hockey fan. To this day, I am, although I'm a huge Philadelphia Flyers fan. I watch all their games on the ESPN app, so, but,
Okay.
yeah, so just great memories, we went to a couple of even, like, pro tennis tournaments and all, so, just it didn't really matter,
Oh,
you know?
really? Okay.
Yeah, so
Well, that's true. I mean, my me and my dad were the same way. We went to the practice round at the Masters one year, which was
I'll
really
say yeah.
that's
No, I
really
never
cool.
got to do that, I wish I had. My mom and dad, through my dad's company, had Masters passes for several years, and they were actually there when Jack Nicklaus won his final jacket when he was, like, 48 years old.
Wow.
So and then once my dad retired, unfortunately, he lost those Masters privileges because they were corporate tickets,
Sure.
but the executives got to take their wives, so my mom went, but yeah, they were literally there when Nicklaus won his, you know, incredible tournament, incredible Sunday,
That was
you know?
yeah, I remember watching that one on TV.
I watched every bit of it on
That
TV,
was great.
and I'm like, that was back when we had VCRs, the big cassette, so I ended up taping it. I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this has gotta be a keepsake because what this guy's
Yeah,
doing,
exactly.
it's his story." And I'm not a golfer, but I enjoy watching golf. But yeah, I would have loved to have gotten to the Masters, so.
That's great, and I love that hockey is something that, to me, you just have to be there to appreciate it.
You do,
I
you do.
I got to go to a
It's
few.
easier to see it, yeah, on in
Yeah,
live. The speed
um,
is unbelievable of the players.
it really is, it really it just yeah. Watching it on TV is just kinda hard to follow sometimes, but when you're
Yeah.
there, it's an exciting sport. People
Oh, it
don't
is,
realize
yeah,
it
when
when
you're
they're
there
not.
especially. I agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and I actually went to some Atlanta Flames games. Of course, that's how old I am.
Well, me too.
I remember the Flames back when they were in Atlanta, but yeah, it kinda sounds like the same trajectory with me and my dad. We just, bonded so much over sports
We did, yep.
and was able to do some stuff with him, later after my mom passed away. Like I had said in my podcast, we went to Cooperstown. That was something I'll never
Never
forget
got to do that,
is
that's great,
is
that's a
hey
memory.
hey, you still need to go.
I will
Make
definitely
some
go.
plans.
I will definitely
Make
that's
some
on the
plans.
bucket list.
There you go.
How many days did you spend there?
You know what? We flew up and spent the night, and it was in March,
Okay.
so it wasn't crowded,
Oh, wow, okay.
which was really cool. We kinda had the place almost to ourselves.
Oh, wow.
It was the year that Ken Griffey and Mike Piazza went in the Hall of Fame,
Oh, cool, okay.
and Piazza was actually there the day we were doing his tour or whatever, his
Yeah,
pre-Hall of Fame tour, and, we saw him. I didn't go up. I did probably if it was Ken Griffey Jr., I probably would have gone up to him, but I wasn't a
right.
big Piazza fan. But but, yeah, that's a great time to go because we could take our time. We, like, went through half of it, went and had lunch, came back. So we spent a full day, and, if it's not crowded, you can do it in a day.
Yeah,
But, yeah, if it's, it's crazy because there's only, like, 5,000 people in that town. and then
I
on the
know, that's
Hall
what
of
I've heard.
Fame yeah, Hall of Fame weekend, there's like 100,000 people there, so I don't know what they do with them or where they put them, but it's crazy. Um, but yeah, if you go kinda in the off season, a day or, 2 at the most, you can see everything.
Yeah. Yeah, just some cool stuff, though. I mean, it's just I've seen photos, obviously, and read stuff, but yeah. Well, you're like
Absolutely.
me, you have great memories. That's important.
It is, and that's what this whole podcast is about, is talking to people about their stories, their memories, and I appreciate you coming on. I know
Oh, it's great.
you posted the other day about your trip to Cardinals opening day and seeing Bob Gibson pitch,
Yeah.
that's great, that's
30
unbelievable.
30 degrees, uh You know, we drank we had you could take you're so looser back then, we could take bags of stuff in, and we had, like, 2 thermoses of hot chocolate, and so you couldn't bought it there, of course, but, it
Right.
was so cold, but I was just like it's opening day. For me back then, that opening day was like Christmas back when I was a kid.
Exactly,
It seemed like it took
exactly.
forever to get here, and once it did, it's like, "Man, we're not missing this." You know? So
Well, speaking of a cold one day, and I think maybe this is why they changed it, when we lived in Kansas, outside of Kansas City, me and my dad went to the Pro Bowl because it was the year I told you it was the year the Royal Stadium opened, we were there,
right, right.
to a game, but also Arrowhead Stadium, they opened them kind of the same year.
That's
So
what I
they had
thought.
the Pro Bowl at Arrowhead Stadium.
Oh, did they? I didn't remember that. Okay,
So
yeah.
this was 70 probably 72, 73, probably 73,
Right.
and it was one of the coldest day it gets cold in Kansas City, people don't
Yes.
realize how
Yeah, I
cold
live
it
in St.
gets,
Louis, so yeah, I get it,
and
yeah.
I'm thinking that's why they moved it to Hawaii, 'cause after that but that was great, the Pro Bowl, 'cause, of course, I was a Cowboys fan, Staubach was playing for the NFC team, and got to see all the greats playing, but, yeah, we froze to death that
Oh, I
day,
bet. Yeah, yeah, I
but,
bet.
yeah, probably the players didn't like playing then either,
Yeah,
but yeah, so
Hawaii just sounds better for some reason. I mean, nothing
exactly,
wrong with Kansas City, but, you know, yeah, a free
exactly,
trip to
I don't
Hawaii.
blame them. I don't blame them at all.
Right.
Well, Doug, thank you. Thank you for
Well,
coming
thanks
on. I
you, I've
appreciate your
enjoyed
time.
this. Yeah, I
Yeah,
certainly
absolutely.
it
It's been a great time, and when we get back into the football season, we might, come back on and talk some tech football when we get a little closer.
we can do that for sure, I don't mind talking football, so but, appreciate you and glad you're doing well and, enjoy the beach, man. It's
Absolutely. We
uh,
are doing that. Definitely
well,
doing
good,
that.
buddy.
Well,
Alright, well,
thanks
thank you for
again.
having me.
Thanks again, Doug, and absolutely. We'll talk
You
to you soon.
you take care. Thank you, buddy.